Hello and welcome back to another reaction. In this occasion, Avatar: The Last Airbender Season 3 Episode 17. Yes, in the last 4 episodes, we established a deeper connection between most of the members of the Aang's group. First, it was Aang himself, then we got Sokka, and in the end, we got Katara. Each episode with a different tone, each episode with their own personal seal that we got to see in this animation, in these few 4 episodes. I think the lightest is Aang and Zuko, because Aang is a pacifist. Aang wants to make friends. He doesn't want to fight a war. Unfortunately, destiny, or whatever you want to call it, put him in that place. But it was a lot more lighter, and it was kind of changing alongside with Zuko, because yes, the priority was to teach Aang how to firebend. Zuko couldn't do it because he lost his drive, in this case to hunt down the Avatar, and he had to do something else. The second one is a little bit heavier, but with a lot of humor within the 2 episodes that we saw in this prison. Yes, we got our serious moments, and yes, it was kind of character development of Zuko's part, because again, he had to accept that he needs to suffer and that he never protests when say, okay, why is me? Why I have to be in prison, or why I have to be a prisoner, whatever. So he just accepted without a hint of remorse, because my guess, he still feels guilty, so that's why he just did that. And then the heaviest of them all, after obviously the rescue of the father and all that, the heaviest of them all, the last one, I think that's the heaviest, because now we're dealing with a person that hates Zuko, literally hates him, or perhaps not hates him, but really strongly dislike him. And we got to see the process in which she learned how to forgive. And I'm not believing that it's just because Zuko did whatever she wanted to do. No, but actually because he saw how pathetic this man. I said this in my last commentary, that really these men, these captain or ex-captain or commander, whatever, he was just a pathetic soul. Because he no longer had power, he returned to his pathetic self. So that's what hate does. So my guess is that's why Katara started to forgive Zuko. So yeah, it was an interesting point to see. Obviously, now we left the episode with an interesting question. Okay, if you want to forgive everybody and you're not willing to kill anybody or to take revenge, how are you going to deal with my father? That's an interesting point, how this series is going to end, because I cannot see Aang killing another human being. And unfortunately, in my current state, that is the only way I see for this war to be over. So I'm still intrigued, because I have so much faith in the creators of this series that I know they are going to give me an answer that is going to be highly satisfactory. So yes, I am interested to see, but obviously I am still far away from that point, and I'm doubting that you are here to just hear me rambling about what I said in the last commentary. So let me just remind you that if you enjoy the content of the channel, please consider a subscriptions and turn on notifications so you can get up to date with whatever we're doing with the channel. If you enjoy the video, please give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. I know I take my sweet time to answer the comments, but believe me, I read them and I love to hear your opinions about the series, about my commentary, about the video in general. So I'm not going to hold you back anymore. So, as I said, let's cut all of these and watch the episode, shall we? Okay, I'm back. I just watched several times because it was so much fun to watch this episode. It is an interesting one, and it's a hard one to speak about. Why I said this? Because obviously I cannot do a recapitulation, because this is something that we know. This is something that we have seen in the last 2.5 seasons. This is the story, obviously, from the Avatar. But from a different perspective, from a perspective of somebody who is loyal to the Fire Nation. I'm not going to say a subjective opinion, because technically our opinion is based on what we see, and we are seeing the good side of the story, the good guy's side. Obviously, we can interpret so many other things in this place, and yes, it kind of tends to be on the side of yes, what the Fire Nation is doing is wrong, and what they are trying to do, and I mean Aang and his group, are trying to do is the good side. But obviously it's interesting because this is a caricature of what we're seeing in the show. Yeah, it's kind of ironic for me to say that, but it's the best way for me to describe it. This is an exaggerated play. Every single character in this play, is a caricature of the characters that we know from the animation. Is obviously an exaggerated point in which Katara is crying all the time, is preachy all the time, is her character, and she's flirting with every boy that she sees, which again, it's an exaggeration. Yeah, she was flirting with some boys, but come on, she's a teenage girl, she wants romance too. And especially when the war wasn't as prevalent, when they were not being persecuted by the entirety of the Fire Nation, when they didn't face Azula or the Fire Lord or the Fire Nation inner circle. So yeah, it was a lot more relaxed back in season 1, and part of season 2 it was a lot more relaxed. So that's why Katara was the way she was. She was flirting with some boys, yes, not with everybody, obviously. No, this is again an exaggeration, but yeah, it's a certain point of truth in that play. Again, is the exaggeration of a characteristic, is what could Avatar will be in the wrong hands. Other than the movie that I know that I haven't seen it, but I know that it's terrible, because that's why I haven't seen it. The live action movie that everybody hates, and I don't want to see it for that reason. But yes, it's interesting to see these characters of the play. It is because yes, you can understand where this is coming from. This shouldn't be an heroic take, because they are Fire Nation. They want to make the heroes look bad, and every single one of the heroes looks bad, with the exception of Toph, because yeah, even Toph was happy with the portrayal of herself. So it's interesting to see this play, because again, it's the perspective of a Fire Nation, how the Fire Nation see our heroes. And even our villains, because Azula is not as intimidating, obviously, as the real Azula. The Fire Lord looks kind of weird, but yeah, again, they are not going to portray him as a caricature. They need to portray him as very powerful, as the last boss that will not be defeated. But the rest, obviously, are funny characters, and that's why I was smiling through the entirety of the play, because it was funny. Again, it's kind of what the fandom does when they see a show. These are kind of memes of our favorite show. This is how the fans tends to portray the show. Yes, we love the show. Yes, we love the characters. Yes, we understand that they are great. But we tend to make fun of them too. We grasp them to something, and we make fun of that something. I haven't seen a lot of Avatar memes, because again, spoilers, and I don't want to be spoiled, but I'm going to put it in another perspective. Let's say the memes of My Hero Academia. You understand the story, that is pretty good. Yeah, there are some aspects in which are kind of weird, but the story in general and the characters in general are pretty good in My Hero Academia. But if you see the fandom, you see the amount of bullshit that you can see in the memes. How Todoroki is completely socially inept. How Deku's breaking his fingers and bones just by walking. how Kachan just is a screaming bastard, which is not that different from the truth. And how everybody is portrayed, and yes, of course, how Araka is Kirby. That's it. It's kind of like Kirby. But again, it's an exaggeration, it's funny, but you love the show and you make fun of the show, and that is this is what I think is the play. It's kind of a representation of the memes. I don't know if back then there were memes. I don't think so, because the internet wasn't that widespread like right now, obviously. But yeah, perhaps it's the fan letters that say, oh yes, okay, let's grab these exaggerated characters and let's make fun of ourselves, which is something great from the show creators, to make fun of themselves, because yes, that's what they are doing. Hell, I love in a particular part of the play in which they skip the great canon, or the biggest canon. I don't remember the name of the episode, and they say, okay, let's continue to fly, because that is considered one of the worst episodes of the entire series, as far as you have told me. So yeah, they skip it completely, because yeah, nobody cares about that episode. It's boring, or it's something weird, but it's funny once you start to understand the fandom. And yes, thanks to your commentary, I kind of understand the fandom. Again, I don't want to go way too deep thanks to spoilers, but I'm going to be spamming memes of Avatar once the show is over. Don't get me wrong, it's funny as hell. But anyway, yes, that's what I think that is why I was struggling so hard to trying to understand this episode, because again, they are making fun of themselves. And that is great. I was smiling during the entire episode. It was so much fun as the perspective of a fan. But once you start to see in the perspective of the characters, there is a different story. Yes, there is a moment in which they are having fun, especially at the beginning, when they know that they are going to be fine. They are making fun of each other, because yeah, once the characters start to speak, they kind of went quiet. Oh god, this is awful. But when other characters are starting to be seen, they make fun of the others. And that's fine, because that is what friends do. If I have a play with my friends that portray your life, which wouldn't be that exciting, obviously, but I will make fun of my own friends, and they will make fun of me, because that's what we do. Yeah, we make fun of each other, and that is an awesome portray. But obviously, there is something deeper there, especially for Aang. Aang was having a lot of problems with this play. For starters, he became a woman in the play. Yes, I know there are people that's transgender and all that, but it's the same as being misgendered. If you feel like a man, you are a man, you're a heterosexual man, let's say, because yeah, that is what Aang is, a heterosexual man, and somebody else portray you because they believe you look more feminine, that will be offensive for a heterosexual male. It's the same as if you portrayed a gay man as a heterosexual, or if you portrayed a homosexual woman as a straight woman. It is wrong, because again, they are misgendering you. Yeah, I know I said I'm not going to enter the politics, but I don't consider politics this. This is not politics, this is kind of it's kind of how you could try to understand how Aang felt in that moment. So yeah, that is the first problem with them. That is awful for him. And not only that, how they portray the relationship with him and Katara. That's another point. Obviously, we know that Aang is in love with Katara. This has been obvious from Season 1, but has been progressing in the entirety of Season 1, Season 2, and now Season 3. We know that. And we know that the kind of affection that Katara has for Aang is kind of been growing and growing and growing. I understand Katara in a certain point when she said that she's conflicted, that she's confused, because they are in the middle of the war and she wants to defeat the Fire Nation. They are in an emergency state, so she doesn't have, or she hasn't had time to really go deep into her own feelings and to really see how she feels about Aang. Obviously, she loves him, but she doesn't know how that love is working, if it's platonic or if it's really romantic. At least that's how I interpret this point. Obviously, Aang feels that he will not survive this war, and he wants to enjoy his moments with Katara. So that's why he's trying to rush. And besides, it's obvious that he is still a child, or perhaps a teenager, but a very immature teenager. That he is wise beyond his years, yes, but there are certain points in which you need real time to mature. So that's why the conflict is here. That's why it's interesting to see how they behave in these moments. And it's understandable and it feels natural once again. It feels natural. Then of course we have Zuko's side. Zuko is obviously a very conflicted character. He now understands, and I think he always understood, not consciously, or at least unconsciously, he understood that he betrayed his uncle. That his uncle was the only one that was with him all the time. And this play only, as he said, throw every mistake at his face, everything wrong that he has done, especially against his uncle. So that's why he is kind of going into this depression state. Thankfully, Toph was with him. Toph told him that his uncle loves him, and loved him so much that now that when he sees that he has changed, when he sees that Zuko is making his own path and doing the correct path, he is going to be forgiving him. And yes, I do believe that. I do believe that Uncle Iroh is going to forgive Zuko because he loves him. And this is what he wanted for him, that he discovers his own path, he discovers what he needs to do. And that is what he did. It took him a lot of time, sure. It took him a betrayal and yeah, a lot of stuff, but he finally did it. So it's I like this little segment between Toph and Zuko. Oh god, please don't tell me that is the spiritual journey that they went through, because I want to see them go into a spiritual journey together. Come on. Okay, yeah, perhaps I'm speaking without merit. Moving on. The last part of the episode, it's a very silly one. It's just with Sokka and Suki. A lot of S names, as I said before. This is obviously more a comedic side at how Sokka behaves and how he's behaving now. He's kind of silly fun. Again, the comedic relief, the bad jokes, the terrible jokes, honestly. But I love him for that. He deserves this rest. He deserves to be... This is, I think, the most normal teenager stuff that Sokka has done so far, I think. And especially now with his girlfriend. Yeah, I love this part for Sokka because he was happy and I was happy. Even if his jokes were terrible, I was happy for Sokka. But yes, it's an interesting episode, a lot of comedy, but a lot of things to think about. I cannot wait for the next episode because yes, we're very close to the end of this series, and I want to see the end, but I don't want it to be over because this is an amazing series. But anyway, yes, I think I genuinely exhausted the topic of this episode. I hope you enjoy it. If you think I missed something, leave a comment and a like if you enjoy the video, and don't forget to subscribe in case you want to see the next one and when it's published, in the moment it's been published. So yes, I think I have nothing else to say. Let me just remind you that the Patreon and the Twitter is in the description below, alongside with the link to the reaction. And yes, I think that's it. I have nothing else to say, but thank you for your attention, and well, see you on the next one. Bye! Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, give it a like, so the algorithm from YouTube will help me out.
and check my other videos, share them, and also why not subscribe to my channel and join this community. And as always, I want to thank you for your attention, your likes, and even your dislikes, your comments, which is something I always look forward to read. And yeah, once more, thanks and see you on the next one.